Good morning, my sisters and brothers. Good morning to every heart that has tasted both the sweetness of victory and the bitterness of pain. Today, I stand before you with a truth that shines brighter than the sun. Bravery is God's gift to women for every struggle. When God sculpted the woman, he knew. Yes, he knew that storms would rise against her. He knew that she would be doubted, overlooked, silenced, and pushed aside. And so he placed inside her chest not just a heart, but a lion's roar. Bravery, my friends, is not the absence of fear. It is the song a woman sings while she walks through fear. Bravery is the hand that wipes tears from her child's eyes even while her own eyes are drowning. Bravery is standing tall when the world whispers, "Sit down." Bravery is saying, "Yes, I can," when even the mirror tells her, "No, you cannot." Women have carried nations in their wombs. Women have fought wars without ever touching a gun. Women have bled each month and still risen to build, to heal, to nurture, to dream. Oh yes, bravery is God's secret crown on a woman's head, invisible to the eye but undeniable in its power. Let me tell you this, a brave woman is unshakable. A brave woman is unstoppable, and a brave woman is unforgettable. So my sisters, when struggle knocks at your door, do not bow your head in defeat. Lift your chin, square your shoulders, and remember, God has already placed within you the bravery to overcome. Say it with me, I am brave. I am God's creation. I am more than my struggle. Because bravery is not only for kings and soldiers, it is for mothers, for daughters, for sisters, for dreamers. It is for you. And when you walk with bravery, the world will tremble, the chains will break, and the future will be rewritten. Bravery is God's gift to women for every struggle. Take that gift, unwrap it, use it, live it. And when your story is told, let it be said, she was brave, she was blessed, she was a woman of God. Thank you. Bravery is not the absence of fear, but the courage to move through it. This is a truth that breathes in the very rhythm of our lives. Too often we think bravery means we must be fearless, as if fear itself disqualifies us from greatness. But, my dear friends, let us understand this fear is a companion of the living. It sits on our shoulder when we dream, when we dare, when we love, when we hope. Fear whispers, "You cannot," but bravery, like a steady drumbeat in the soul, replies, "Watch me." Think of a mother who stands at the bus stop with her child on the very first day of school. Her heart trembles with the fear of letting go, of trusting the world to treat her little one with kindness. Yet she does not crumble. She smiles, she waves, and she sends her child forward even while her heart aches. That, my friends, is bravery. Not because she is without fear, but because love gave her the strength to walk through it. Consider the young woman who sits in a classroom filled with voices louder than hers. She is the only one of her kind, the only one who looks like her, speaks like her, or carries her history. The fear of judgment presses heavy against her chest, and still, when the teacher asks for an answer, she raises her hand. Her voice may tremble, but it breaks through. That trembling voice is bravery. It is not fearless, but it is fierce. Everyday life is filled with such examples. A woman who wakes up before dawn, not because she has all the answers, but because her family depends on her. She goes to work tired, uncertain, carrying bills, carrying burdens, carrying questions. Fear says, "You will not make it," but she moves anyway. That is bravery. Not a lack of fear, but a decision to walk through fear holding the hand of faith. Think about the moments that shape us most. The student who applies for a scholarship, even though the voice in her mind says, "They will never choose you." The businesswoman who opens her shop with just a few dollars in her pocket, fear circling her every step, yet her dream burning brighter than her doubt. The young girl who decides to speak her truth after years of silence. Each of these moments proves that bravery and fear are not enemies. They are dance partners. Fear leads us to the edge and bravery carries us across. When a woman gives birth, she knows pain is coming, she knows her body will be tested, and she knows there may be complications she cannot predict. Fear is there in that hospital room, humming loud, yet she pushes through because love and courage unite to lift her beyond fear. This is bravery in its purest form, facing the unknown, trembling, crying, and still pressing forward. Too many people wait for the day they will no longer feel afraid before they act. But that day never comes. Courage is not found in the absence of fear. It is discovered in the middle of fear. It is the student speaking up, the worker asking for fair pay, the daughter standing up against injustice, the mother protecting her child, the woman daring to dream when the world tells her to settle. Fear says, "What if you fail?" Bravery says, "What if I fly?" Fear says, "They will laugh at you." Bravery says, "Let them laugh. I will still rise." Fear says, "You are not ready." Bravery says, "I will never be ready until I begin." Each day, women across the world embody this truth. A grandmother raising her grandchildren in the face of loss. A teenager choosing to pursue education in a place where she is told she cannot. A wife leaving a home that is unsafe, walking out into the unknown with nothing but her dignity. A leader standing at the podium, knowing that criticism will come, yet speaking anyway. These women are not free of fear. They are brave because they face fear head on and walk through it. Bravery is not about loudness or noise. Sometimes bravery is quiet. It is the silent prayer whispered at midnight. It is the decision to get out of bed on a morning when sorrow weighs heavy. It is the steady breath taken before walking into a room filled with doubters. It is not always a roar. Sometimes bravery is a whisper that says, "One more step." And then let me tell you, my friends, fear is universal, but so is bravery. Every woman carries that divine spark. Bravery is the spirit that allows us to forgive when bitterness feels easier. It is the force that helps us to love again after heartbreak. It is the choice to trust ourselves when the world refuses to trust us. So the next time fear comes, and it will, do not think it means you are weak. Remember instead that fear is a sign you are alive, you are reaching, you are daring, and in that very moment, bravery is already awake within you. Let it guide you. Let it move you. Let it remind you are stronger than the storm, greater than the struggle, and worthy of every victory. Bravery is not the absence of fear. My beloved, it is the sacred courage to move through it. And every woman, every single one, has been gifted that courage by the hand of God himself. God equipped women with bravery because he foresaw their struggles. From the very beginning, when the Creator shaped woman, he understood that her path would not be easy. He knew she would walk through valleys where shadows stretch long, and he knew she would climb mountains where the air grows thin. He foresaw her tears, her battles, her sacrifices, and her triumphs. So in his divine wisdom, he placed within her not only tenderness, but also strength, not only grace, but also courage. That gift of bravery was his preparation for her journey. Look at a mother who wakes in the middle of the night to soothe her crying child. Her body is tired, her eyelids heavy, her mind burdened with tomorrow's duties. But she rises anyway. Why? Because God foresaw her struggle, and he wove bravery into her spirit, allowing her to rise again and again, even when exhaustion is her constant companion. Think of the woman who steps into a workplace where she is underestimated. She knows the whispers, the sideways glances, the doubt that trails behind her. Yet, she keeps her head high and her work excellent. That strength is not by accident, it is God's design. For every moment she would be questioned, God gave her bravery to stand tall. For every battle she would face, he gave her the power to fight with dignity. When we read the stories of women in history, we see this divine foresight alive. Think of the women who marched for freedom, who stood in places where they were told not to stand, who raised their voices when silence was demanded. Did they not feel fear? Of course they did. But bravery was already placed within them long before the struggle arrived. It was not a gift that appeared suddenly. It was planted from the start, waiting for its season to bloom. In daily life, this truth unfolds again and again. A young girl who dreams of becoming a doctor, though her family struggles to afford school fees, walks long miles to class because bravery pushes her feet forward. A woman facing illness, her body weakened and her spirit tested, still manages to smile at her children, still whispers hope into their hearts. This is not ordinary strength. It is the bravery that God equipped her with, knowing she would need it in those very hours of trial. There is something divine about how women carry both vulnerability and courage in the same breath. Tears may fall, voices may tremble, but still they rise. That duality is not weakness, it is power, and it is a reflection of God's foresight. He knew the world would place weight upon their shoulders, so he made their spirits resilient. He knew storms would rage, so he anchored bravery deep in their souls. Bravery is not always loud or grand. Sometimes it shows itself in small, quiet acts. It is in the single mother who works 2 jobs to feed her children. It is in the student who studies under the dim light of a candle because electricity has failed, yet she refuses to let her dream die. It is in the woman who speaks kindly when insulted, who forgives when she could hold a grudge, who chooses love when hate would be easier. These acts are not accidents. They are bravery alive in everyday life. And why did God choose to place this gift so firmly in women? Because he foresaw the struggles that would test them most. He knew society would sometimes silence their voices. He knew injustice would sometimes shadow their steps. He knew their sacrifices would often go unseen, their labor unappreciated, their pain misunderstood. So he made them brave so that when the world pressed against them, they would still stand, they would still fight, they would still rise. Look at the grandmother raising children in her twilight years because tragedy has visited her home. She should be weary, she should be broken, but instead she gathers strength from places unseen. That is bravery. Look at the young woman who dares to leave behind an unsafe situation, stepping into uncertainty with nothing but faith. That is bravery. Look at the teacher who pours into her students, knowing her efforts may not be repaid with riches, but believing that knowledge can break chains. That is bravery. God did not give bravery to women as a decoration. He gave it as armor. Armor to face criticism, armor to endure hardship, armor to break cycles of pain and build legacies of hope. Every woman wears this armor whether she recognizes it or not. It is why she continues when she feels she cannot. It is why she finds light in the darkest night. It is why she rebuilds even after loss. Bravery is not a gift that sits unused. It is activated in the very moment struggle appears. And each time a woman stands, each time she moves forward despite fear, she confirms that what God foresaw was true. She is equipped, she is capable, she is enough. So when a woman doubts herself, she must remember God already saw this struggle long before it arrived. He already placed in her the bravery to face it. She is not empty-handed. She is not abandoned. She is carrying a divine gift designed for such a time as this. And that is why, even in the hardest battles, women rise. They rise not because the world makes it easy, but because God made them brave. They rise because their struggles were seen in advance, and their courage was planted as preparation. They rise because bravery is their inheritance, their weapon, their gift. And no struggle is greater than the bravery God placed within them. Bravery allows women to stand tall when the world says sit down. This is one of the most remarkable qualities gifted to women, the ability to rise even in the face of resistance, to keep their dignity even when others try to diminish their worth. The world has a way of telling women, directly or silently, to shrink, to be quiet, to make themselves small. Yet time and time again, women prove that bravery is what keeps them standing tall, unbending, unbroken, even in the midst of pressure. Imagine a classroom where a young girl raises her hand to answer a question. Around her, some boys laugh, some roll their eyes, and others try to speak over her. The unspoken message is, sit down, stay silent. But she refuses. She speaks anyway. Her answer might not be perfect, her voice may shake, but the act of speaking itself is bravery. She is declaring, I will not shrink for your comfort. I will stand tall. Think of the woman in the workplace who is told she is too ambitious or too bold. She is urged, sometimes politely, sometimes cruelly, to tone down her dreams, to fit into a box that was never made for her. Yet she presses forward, leading projects, offering her ideas, making her presence undeniable. That is bravery in motion. When the world says, sit down, you are not enough, she stands taller and says, I am more than enough. Standing tall is not only about speaking loudly or being visible. It is about holding your ground when everything around you tries to push you off balance. It is the mother who refuses to let poverty dictate her children's future. It is the survivor who chooses healing instead of shame. It is the daughter who chooses education when tradition tells her to marry young. In each of these cases, the world whispers, sit down, but bravery empowers them to rise, to stretch higher, to remain firm in who they are. History itself is filled with stories of women who stood tall against overwhelming odds. Women who fought for their right to vote, their right to learn, their right to work, their right to live free. They were told again and again to sit down, to step aside, to stay quiet. But bravery made them rise higher than the voices of oppression. They became beacons, not just for themselves, but for generations after them. Their courage carved out spaces where once there were only walls. But this bravery does not live only in history books. It lives in daily life. It lives in the girl who decides to wear her natural hair. Even though society tells her to straighten it, it lives in the woman who says no. To disrespect, even when it costs her relationships. It lives in the grandmother who raises her voice at a community meeting because she refuses to let injustice pass silently. Standing tall is not about the absence of challenge. It is about the refusal to bow to it. The world often underestimates how much it asks women to endure. Every sit down is not just about the body, it is about the spirit. When society tells women not to speak too loudly, not to dream too big, not to want too much, it is essentially saying, shrink your spirit. Yet bravery is the answer that says, I will not. To stand tall is to let the world know you are not defined by its limitations. You are defined by the strength God placed inside you. Think about a young woman who is the first in her family to attend university. She faces pressure from relatives who say, why not just get married? Why not just work? She feels the weight of cultural expectations, yet she walks across the campus every day, books in her hands, dreams in her mind. That walk is not ordinary, it is bravery. With every step, she is standing tall against generations of voices that told her to sit down. Or consider the single mother who goes to court to fight for her children's future. She may face intimidation, legal language she doesn't understand, and people who look at her as if she is powerless. Yet she walks into that courtroom with her head lifted. She may not have wealth or connections, but she has bravery. She stands tall in defense of her children, even when the world tells her she cannot win. Standing tall is also found in quieter moments. It is in the woman who decides to smile after heartbreak, refusing to let pain define her. It is in the girl who looks in the mirror and decides she is beautiful, even when advertisements tell her otherwise. It is in the woman who keeps praying, keeps hoping, keeps moving, even when life seems to push her down. These are not small things, they are mighty acts of bravery. When the world says, "Sit down," bravery answers, "I was not created to disappear. I was created to rise." That is why women continue to stand tall. Not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Not because they have no fear, but because they carry courage greater than their fear. The beauty of bravery is that it does not just lift the woman herself. It inspires those who watch her. A daughter sees her mother stand tall, and she learns to do the same. A community sees a woman raise her voice, and suddenly others find their own. One act of bravery multiplies, spreading strength like fire. So when women stand tall against the command to sit down, they are not only defending themselves, they are opening doors for others. They are declaring to the world, "We will not shrink, we will not vanish, we will not silence our truth." And that declaration echoes far beyond their own lives. Yes, bravery allows women to stand tall when the world says sit down. And every time a woman stands tall, she testifies to the power God placed inside her. She reminds us all that no matter how heavy the opposition, no matter how loud the voices of doubt, she will not fold. She will rise. She will stand. She will remain unshakable. Women carry nations, heal wounds, and break barriers through bravery. This is not poetry alone. It is reality written into the lives of countless women, both past and present. A woman's bravery is not just for herself. It ripples outward, shaping families, communities, and entire nations. With every act of courage, whether grand or small, women carry the weight of dreams, the hope of generations, and the healing of broken places. Think of the mother who raises her children with dignity despite poverty pressing in from every side. She may not have riches to offer, but she gives something richer: resilience, discipline, and faith. Each meal she prepares, each story she tells, each lesson she teaches is a seed planted in the soil of tomorrow. And one day those seeds grow into leaders, thinkers, builders. Nations rise from such quiet, unseen bravery. For when a woman chooses to endure and to raise her children with strength, she is not just shaping a household, she is shaping the future of her country. Consider the nurse who walks into the hospital day after day, even during crisis, even during pandemics, even when fear lingers in the air. She tends to wounds, she comforts sick, she holds the hand of those who are frightened. Her bravery is not loud, yet it heals bodies and spirits alike. Communities stand tall because women like her refuse to turn away in times of crisis. She carries not just medicine in her hands, but hope in her presence. Women also break barriers that were once considered unbreakable. Think of the girl who is told science is not for her, leadership is not for her, or success is not for her. Yet she studies late into the night, she pushes through every obstacle, and she becomes the doctor, the engineer, the leader no one expected her to be. In doing so, she breaks not only her own barriers, but also the barriers that would have kept others behind her. Her bravery creates a path where none existed before. History shines with examples of women who carried nations through their courage. There were women who fought for civil rights, for freedom, for justice. Some led marches. Some wrote words that could not be ignored. Some raised their voices in courts or in parliaments. They were told to be silent, to step aside. Yet their bravery changed laws, liberated minds, and reshaped societies. Without them, the freedoms many enjoy today would not exist. That is the power of a brave woman. She can alter the course of history. But it is not only in grand movements that bravery shows itself. It is in the daily choices that women make to heal what is broken around them. A teacher who sees a struggling child and refuses to give up on him. She heals with patience and persistence. A friend who comforts another during grief. She heals with presence and compassion. A daughter who works to support her aging parents. She heals with responsibility and love. Each of these acts may seem small in isolation, but together they build stronger families, stronger communities, stronger nations. Breaking barriers requires bravery because the world often resists change. When a woman steps into a role that was once denied to her, she faces criticism, doubt, sometimes even hostility. But bravery empowers her to move forward anyway. The first woman to fly a plane, the first woman to lead a country, the first woman to speak in a room full of men. These first did not come without fear. Yet their courage shattered ceilings and built ladders for those who followed. Today, countless women step into spaces where their mothers or grandmothers could not have imagined standing. That progress is not accidental. It is the harvest of bravery. Women also carry nations in unseen ways. When wars break out, it is often women who keep communities alive. They find food where there seems to be none. They protect children when danger surrounds them. They hold families together when chaos tries to tear them apart. Their bravery is the glue that prevents nations from falling apart completely, and when peace comes, it is often women who rebuild with tireless determination. Bravery in women is not limited to endurance, it is also innovation. Women look at broken systems and imagine something better. They create businesses, charities, schools, and movements. They plant gardens where there were deserts. They open clinics where there was no care. They write books where silence once lived. Their bravery is the spark of creation, birthing possibilities that reshape the world. Even in the simplest acts, women reveal how bravery carries and heals. A grandmother telling stories to her grandchildren is passing down history, culture, and wisdom. A sister standing up for a younger brother in the face of bullying is teaching him the power of courage. A wife encouraging her partner when he feels defeated is strengthening a household. These are not just personal gestures, they ripple outward, affecting families, communities, and beyond. To carry nations, heal wounds, and break barriers requires more than strength of body, it requires strength of spirit. That is what God has placed within women. It is why they rise when the world tries to press them down. It is why they give when the world takes from them. It is why they heal when the world wins them. And it is why they keep breaking barriers, refusing to be defined by limits placed upon them. Every time a woman chooses bravery, she is doing more than surviving, she is shaping the world. Nations thrive because of her sacrifice, wounds close because of her compassion, and barriers fall because of her determination. This truth has always been, and it will always remain. Women change the world not because it is easy, but because God gave them the courage to do so. Women carry nations, heal wounds, and break barriers through bravery. That bravery is not only their inheritance, it is their gift to the world. And the world is forever changed because of it. Every struggle is an opportunity to awaken the bravery within. Struggles, though painful, are not punishments. They are invitations. They come into our lives like unwelcome guests, and yet they carry hidden gifts. One of those gifts is the awakening of courage. Without struggle, bravery often remains asleep, resting quietly in the soul. But when hardship knocks on the door, when storms shake the ground beneath our feet, bravery rises, stretches itself wide, and says, "Here I am." Consider the young woman who loses her job unexpectedly. The bills still arrive, the responsibilities still demand attention, and fear creeps into her heart. She feels crushed, unsure of how to move forward. But in that very moment, a choice emerges: surrender to despair or awaken bravery. So she dusts herself off, sends out resumes, learns new skills, perhaps even starts a business of her own. What began as a devastating struggle becomes the moment she discovers her strength. She would never have known the depth of her courage without the hardship that forced it awake. Think of the student who fails an important exam. Shame and disappointment weigh heavily on her shoulders. She is tempted to give up, to believe she is not good enough. But something inside whispers, "Try again." And so she studies harder, asks for help, and eventually passes with flying colors. The struggle that once felt like the end became the beginning of her perseverance. Through it, her bravery awoke, showing her that failure is not final. It is simply a teacher. In daily life, struggles come in many forms: sickness, rejection, heartbreak, poverty, loss. They arrive uninvited and they often linger longer than we wish. Yet each one has the power to reveal strength we did not know we possessed. A woman battling illness learns that her spirit is stronger than her body's weakness. A woman facing heartbreak learns that her worth is not tied to who left her, but to the God who created her. A woman enduring poverty learns to stretch resources, to find joy in simplicity, to fight for a better tomorrow. These struggles do not destroy her, they awaken her. Bravery is like a seed buried in the soil of the heart. Struggles are the storms that bring rain, the challenges that break the ground open, allowing the seed to sprout. Without the storm, the seed might never push through the soil. Without the weight pressing against it, bravery might never grow tall. It is through hardship that courage emerges in its fullest form. Think of a mother raising children alone. Her struggle is daily, her resources limited, her energy stretched thin. Yet each obstacle teaches her how strong she really is. Each time she chooses to rise instead of collapse, bravery grows larger within her. What others might see as a struggle, she transforms into a testimony of resilience. Her children grow up watching not only her sacrifices, but also her courage. They learn bravery because they saw it awakened in her through struggle. Or consider a woman who moves to a new country, carrying the weight of unfamiliar language, culture, and loneliness. Every day feels like a struggle to belong. Yet with each step, she learns new words, builds new connections, and discovers within herself the bravery to adapt and thrive. That struggle becomes her training ground, awakening in her the courage to stand tall no matter where she is planted. When the world looks at struggle, it often sees only pain. But those who understand its deeper meaning see opportunity. Struggle forces us to confront our limits, and in doing so, it reveals that we are capable of more than we imagine. Without the test, the testimony cannot exist. Without the trial, the triumph would hold no meaning. Even the smallest struggles awaken bravery. A woman learning to ride a bicycle after years of fear discovers joy once she pushes past her doubt. A woman speaking in public for the first time feels her knees shake and her voice tremble, yet when she finishes, she realizes she is braver than she thought. Each struggle, big or small, is a doorway to deeper strength. God does not waste struggles. Each one has a purpose, and often that purpose is to awaken the bravery He already placed inside us. When life feels heavy, it is easy to believe we are powerless. But the truth is that every weight we carry is a chance to build stronger muscles of courage. Every tear we cry waters the soil of resilience. Every setback is a setup for bravery to rise. So when a woman faces struggle, she should not see it as the end of her story. Instead, she should see it as the chapter where her bravery begins to speak louder. The struggle is not meant to bury her. It is meant to awaken her. It is the alarm clock that says, "You are stronger than this. Rise up." And when bravery awakens, it does not return to sleep easily. Once a woman discovers her own strength, no one can take it from her. She carries it into future battles, into future opportunities, into future dreams. She becomes living proof that struggles do not break women, they build them. Yes, every struggle is an opportunity to awaken the bravery within. It may not feel like a gift when it arrives, but once it is unwrapped, it reveals the strength, resilience, and courage that were there all along. And that awakening becomes not only a blessing to the woman herself, but also a light for others, showing them that they too can rise, they too can endure, and they too can awaken the bravery that lies within their souls. Bravery makes women unshakable, unstoppable, and unforgettable. When bravery takes root in a woman's heart, she becomes like a tree planted by living waters. Winds may blow, storms may rage, but she will not break. She may bend, but she will not snap. She may stumble, but she will not fall permanently. Bravery turns fragility into firmness, fear into fire, and obstacles into stepping stones. It makes her stand when others expect her to collapse. It makes her keep going when others believe she has reached the end, and it makes her leave a mark on the world that cannot be erased. Picture a young woman facing rejection after rejection in pursuit of her dream career. Each no cuts deeply, each closed door feels heavy. Yet, instead of giving up, she keeps applying, keeps learning, keeps sharpening her skills. Her bravery transforms what could have been defeat into determination. Eventually, the right door opens not because the path was smooth, but because she refused to stop walking. Unshakable, unstoppable, unforgettable. That is the power bravery gave her. Think of the mother who buries her grief deep inside so she can smile for her children. Life may have thrown loss or heartbreak her way, but she wakes each morning, prepares breakfast, and carries on. The weight is heavy, yet she does not let it crush her. Her children grow up remembering her as the anchor of the home, the one who stood tall when everything else fell apart. They will never forget her strength, not because she never cried, but because she never quit. In daily life, bravery creates women who rise above circumstances that could have destroyed them. A woman battling cancer who chooses to fight with dignity, inspiring everyone around her, becomes unforgettable, not because of her illness, but because of her courage. A woman starting a business with almost nothing, facing setbacks, criticism, and long nights, yet building something lasting, she becomes unstoppable. A woman caring for her aging parents while balancing her own responsibilities may grow weary, but her love makes her unshakable. These are not extraordinary women, they are everyday women who let bravery shape their response to life. Bravery does not eliminate challenges, but it changes how women meet them. Where others see walls, a brave woman sees doors waiting to be opened. Where others hear impossible, she hears not yet. Where others feel the urge to surrender, she feels the call to rise. It is bravery that turns her "I can't" into "I must," and her "I must" into "I will." That is why brave women are unstoppable. They keep moving forward, step by step, until they break through. And what about being unforgettable? Bravery leaves a legacy that echoes beyond a woman's lifetime. Think of grandmothers who endured wars, poverty, or discrimination, but still held their families together. Their grandchildren may not remember every detail of their lives, but they remember their strength, their resilience, their refusal to give up. Those stories get told again and again, becoming part of the family's DNA. Bravery carves memory into history, ensuring that women who dared to be strong are never erased. Even in simple acts, bravery makes women unforgettable. A teacher who believes in her students when no one else does becomes a figure they recall decades later. A friend who stood by another during her darkest days is etched forever in her heart. A leader who speaks truth to power leaves an imprint on the souls of those who heard her voice. The courage may have felt small in the moment, but its impact lasts forever. Think about a single mother working double shifts to provide for her children. She may go unnoticed by the world, but to her children, she is unstoppable. They will never forget the nights she stayed awake, the mornings she went without so they could have enough. Bravery turned her sacrifice into a story of triumph, a memory they will carry for life. Or consider a young woman who dares to pursue education in a community that tells her to remain silent. She may face ridicule, resistance, even threats, but she persists. One day, she not only achieves her dream, but also inspires countless others to follow. That persistence makes her unforgettable, because her bravery opened the way for others. Unshakable, unstoppable, unforgettable. These words do not mean life is free of pain. They mean that pain cannot hold her down. They do not mean the road is easy. They mean she keeps walking even when the road is steep. They do not mean she is perfect. They mean her imperfections shine with the light of courage. God has placed bravery inside women so deeply that when it awakens, it transforms not only their lives, but the lives of those around them. A brave woman is like a lighthouse, steady in the storm, guiding others toward safety. She is like a mountain, immovable in her convictions. She is like fire, spreading warmth and light that cannot be ignored. The truth is, the world remembers women not just for what they endured, but for how they endured it. Their bravery makes them unforgettable. It inspires songs, stories, poems, and legacies. It becomes the thread that ties one generation of women to the next, saying, if she could rise, so can you. So yes, bravery makes women unshakable when life tries to move them, unstoppable when obstacles try to block them, and unforgettable when history tries to forget them. This is the divine power of courage at work, and every time a woman chooses bravery, she adds another page to the story of resilience written across the ages. A story that will never be erased. Bravery is a divine inheritance. Every woman already has it inside her. It is not something she must beg for, buy, or borrow. It is not a treasure buried in a faraway land, waiting for her to search endlessly. No, it is already hers, planted deep in her spirit before she ever took her first breath. When God formed woman, he looked ahead and saw the mountains she would climb, the valleys she would walk, and the rivers she would cross. And so he gifted her bravery as part of her very design. It is her birthright. It is her inheritance. Think of a child born into a family. Even before she can understand, she inherits a name, a home, and a history. She doesn't have to earn these things. They are hers by birth. In the same way, every woman inherits bravery simply because she was created. She doesn't need the world's permission to be strong. She doesn't need society's approval to be courageous. Bravery is already inside her, waiting for the moment it is needed. Consider the woman who feels ordinary, who believes she is not remarkable. She cooks meals, cares for her family, goes to work, pays her bills. Nothing about her life feels extraordinary. Yet when crisis comes, an illness, a tragedy, a sudden loss, her bravery awakens. She steps forward with strength she didn't know she had. Friends and family marvel, saying, I don't know how you do it. But the truth is, she didn't get bravery in that moment. It was there all along. Struggle only revealed the inheritance she had been carrying quietly within her. Every woman has this inner reserve, a girl who stands up to a bully in school, a daughter who defends her mother against disrespect, a wife who speaks her truth in a difficult relationship. They are not drawing courage from outside sources. They are drawing it from within, from the gift placed in their soul by God himself. Bravery is not something that enters their lives. It is something that awakens from their inheritance. This truth is important because too many women believe they are weak until proven otherwise. They wait for validation, for someone to tell them they are strong, but the power has been theirs all along. Think of a seed. It may look small, lifeless, even fragile, yet within it lies the potential for a towering tree. The seed doesn't borrow its strength from the soil. It already carries that potential. The soil only provides the conditions for it to grow. Women are the same. Bravery is the seed planted in their hearts. Life struggles provide the soil where it blooms. Take, for example, the grandmother who has never traveled far from her village. To others, she seems simple, quiet, unremarkable. Yet when her family faces hardship, she becomes their rock. She tells stories that give them hope. She prays with faith that steadies them. She speaks wisdom that guides them forward. Bravery was her inheritance, and though it stayed quietly within her for years, it shines when her family needs it most. Or picture a young woman preparing to give birth. Fear and uncertainty surround her, pain awaits her. Yet when the moment comes, Something within her rises. She pushes through the fear, through the pain, until life emerges. People call her brave, but the truth is bravery was always her inheritance. It was not created in that moment. It was revealed. Bravery as inheritance also explains why women rise generation after generation. A mother's bravery is passed to her daughter not through blood alone, but through example. A daughter sees her mother face hardship and learns, I too can be strong. A granddaughter hears stories of her grandmother's courage and thinks, that same courage lives in me. Bravery multiplies because it's not only inherited from God, but also modeled by women across time. Even in the quiet corners of the world, where women's names may never be recorded in history books, bravery is alive. The farmer's wife who tills the soil beside her husband. The domestic worker who sends her wages home to educate her siblings. The refugee who carries her child across borders in search of safety. These women may never stand on stages or be celebrated by crowds, yet bravery flows through them. They are living proof that courage is not the privilege of a few, it is the inheritance of every woman. This truth also liberates women from comparison. One woman's bravery may look different from another's. For one, it may be speaking to a crowd. For another, it may be standing quietly for justice in her home. For one, it may be starting a business. For another, it may be raising children with love. The form doesn't matter because the source is the same. Each act flows from the same inheritance, the same divine gift. Sometimes women forget this truth because the world convinces them otherwise. Society may say, you are too weak, too emotional, too fragile. But these are lies meant to distract from the truth. Women are brave by design. They don't need to wait to become brave. They already are. Their inheritance is bravery itself, stitched into their souls by the hand of God. And when a woman realizes this, her entire life changes. She no longer asks, am I strong enough? Instead, she declares, the strength was always mine. She no longer fears, what if I can't? Instead, she remembers, God has already given me what I need. She no longer doubts her worth, because bravery is proof of her divine value. Yes, bravery is a divine inheritance. It is the unshakable truth that every woman carries strength, not because of what she does, but because of who she is. It is her birthright. It is her crown. It is the flame burning quietly inside her, waiting to be fanned into fire. And once it is awakened, nothing in the world can take it away. Bravery is not only about surviving life's storms, it is about transforming them into pathways of strength, wisdom, and legacy. When a woman chooses courage in the face of struggle, her life becomes a beacon, a testimony that radiates far beyond her own journey. She does not just overcome, she teaches, she uplifts, she inspires. Her bravery becomes the spark that lights torches in the hands of others, especially the generations that follow. And in this way, her struggles do not end with her. They are turned into seeds of strength for countless others. Imagine a young girl watching her mother rise before dawn to prepare for the day. She sees her mother, tired yet steady, cooking meals, tending to responsibilities, and facing the world with a smile even when her heart is heavy. The girl may not understand everything at the time, but she absorbs the lesson that strength is possible even in exhaustion. Years later, when that young girl faces her own challenges, she draws on her mother's example. She whispers to herself, if she could keep going, so can I. That is how bravery multiplies. It flows forward into new lives. Think of a woman in a difficult workplace facing discrimination, disrespect, or constant dismissal of her worth. She could remain silent, but bravery pushes her to speak up, to claim her space. Her co-workers notice. Other women watching her learn that they too have a voice. Suddenly, her individual act of courage becomes a collective wave of change. Bravery does not stop with one. It spreads like ripples in water, touching lives far beyond what she can see. Even small, everyday choices of bravery inspire others. A woman who dares to go back to school after years of being told she is too old die. A woman who starts her own business after being told she would surely fail. A woman who walks away from a toxic relationship, reclaiming her peace and dignity. These choices echo loudly. They tell others, you are not trapped. You are not powerless. You too can choose courage. Without a single speech, these women become role models. Their lives preach louder than words. Bravery also creates legacies that stretch across generations. Consider the stories of women who endured slavery, war, or oppression, yet still carved out hope for their children. Their names may never be written in history books, but their strength became the foundation upon which future generations stood. Their daughters, granddaughters, and great-granddaughters inherited not just blood but resilience, not just survival but vision. When a woman is brave, she writes history not only for herself, but for all who come after her. This legacy often shows up in the quietest ways. A grandmother who could not read teaches her granddaughter the value of education, urging her to pursue what she could not. A mother who struggled in poverty teaches her daughter the importance of financial independence, encouraging her to dream beyond limitation. These women turn their struggles into wisdom, and that wisdom becomes the compass guiding future lives. Bravery transforms wounds into roadmaps, showing the way forward for others. Bravery also connects women to one another. When one woman shares her story, her battles with illness, her survival of abuse, her triumph over doubt, another woman listening feels less alone. She realizes her own struggle is not a private prison, but a shared experience. In that connection, courage grows. One voice saying, "I made it," becomes a chorus encouraging others. You can make it too. Bravery creates community. It builds bridges where walls once stood. And in every society, it is the brave women who push humanity forward, from leaders who fight for justice, to mothers who raise children with love in harsh conditions, to quiet souls who hold families together in times of crisis. Each act of bravery shapes the world. Courage is never wasted. Even if no one applauds in the moment, the impact remains woven into the fabric of people's lives. What is most beautiful about this truth is that bravery turns struggle into something meaningful. Pain does not define the brave woman, her response does. Obstacles do not shrink her, they reveal her size. Every challenge becomes a teacher, and every victory becomes a story that strengthens others. She does not suffer in vain because her story carries power. She may not realize it at the time, but her courage is inspiring someone watching quietly from the sidelines. Consider the nurse who works long hours, caring for patients in overwhelming circumstances. She may feel invisible, but to the family of the person she comforted, she is unforgettable. Or the single mother who thought no one noticed her sacrifices. But years later, her child, now grown, stands in gratitude shaped by her quiet heroism. These women may not see their influence immediately, but bravery always leaves a mark. It never fades. And so, when a woman embraces bravery, she does more than survive. She becomes a living example of resilience, a guidepost for others. Her life whispers to those around her, strength is possible. Hope is real. You can rise. This is how bravery changes the world, not through grand gestures alone, but through countless acts of quiet determination, through stories told and retold, through lives that echo courage long after the woman herself has gone. Bravery is the gift that allows women to turn their struggles into songs, their battles into blueprints, their scars into stories that heal others. It ensures that no hardship is wasted, that every challenge becomes an opportunity to inspire. And once a woman walks bravely, she cannot walk alone. Her courage becomes a torch, and its light will forever guide the steps of others.